Two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both. And be one traveller, long I stood, and looked down, one as far as I could, to where it bent in the undergrowth. Then took the other as just as fair, and having perhaps the better claim, because it was grassy and wanted wear, though as for that, the passing there had worn them really about the same. And both that morning equally lay, in leaves no step had trodden black. Oh, I kept the first for another day, yet knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted if I should ever come back. I shall be telling this with a sigh, somewhere ages and ages hence. Two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. The Road Not Taken by Robert Frost is one of the most iconic and frequently quoted poems in American literature. At first glance, the poem appears to celebrate individualism and the courage to take the road less traveled. However, a deeper reading reveals a more complex meditation on the nature of decision-making, regret, and the stories we tell ourselves to make sense of our lives. The poem's deceptively simple language and imagery have made it a timeless piece, often misinterpreted as a straightforward endorsement of nonconformity. In reality, it's a profound exploration of how we navigate life's uncertainties and construct meaning from our choices. Two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both. And be one traveller, long I stood, and looked down, one as far as I could, to where it bent in the undergrowth. The poem opens with the speaker standing at a fork in the road, symbolizing a moment of decision in life. The yellow wood suggests autumn, a season of change and reflection, setting a contemplative tone. The speaker expresses regret that he cannot take both paths, highlighting the inevitability of choice and the impossibility of experiencing all life has to offer. He pauses to examine one path as far as he can see, but it disappears into the undergrowth, symbolizing the unknown future. This stanza introduces the central conflict of the poem, the tension between choice and regret. Then took the other as just as fair, and having perhaps the better claim, because it was grassy and wanted wear, though as for that, the passing there had worn them really about the same. The speaker chooses the second path, describing it as just as fair as the first. He initially believes this path has the better claim because it appears less traveled, grassy, and wanted wear. However, he quickly admits that both paths were really about the same, suggesting that the differences between them are superficial. This stanza introduces the theme of perception versus reality. The speaker's initial confidence in his choice is undercut by his acknowledgement that the roads are equally worn, hinting at the arbitrary nature of decision-making and the human tendency to romanticize our choices. And both that morning equally lay, in leaves no step had trodden black. Oh, I kept the first for another day, yet knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted if I should ever come back. The speaker reflects that both paths were equally untouched that morning, with leaves covering them and no visible footprints. This reinforces the idea that the roads are more similar than they initially appeared. He tells himself he'll return to take the first path another day, but he immediately doubts this possibility, recognizing that one choice leads to another and that life's journey is linear. This stanza explores the theme of irreversibility. Once a choice is made, there's no going back. It also touches on the human tendency to delay decisions or imagine alternate futures, even when we know they're unlikely to happen. I shall be telling this with a sigh, somewhere ages and ages hence. Two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. In the final stanza, the speaker imagines himself in the distant future, recounting this moment with a sigh. The sigh is ambiguous. It could signify regret, relief, or simply reflection. He claims he took the road less traveled by, even though the poem earlier suggests the roads were equally traveled. This contradiction highlights the theme of self-deception and the way we construct narratives to give our lives meaning. The famous last line, "and that has made all the difference," is often interpreted as a celebration of individualism, but the poem's earlier details suggest that the difference is more about perception than reality. The speaker's story is a way of making sense of his life, even if it's not entirely truthful. The central theme of The Road Not Taken is the nature of choice and its consequences. Frost uses the metaphor of a fork in the road to explore how we make decisions, often with incomplete information, and how we later reflect on those choices. The poem highlights the inevitability of regret. No matter which path we choose, we're left wondering about the road not taken. It also touches on the theme of individuality, as the speaker imagines himself telling his story in the future, claiming he took the less traveled path. However, the poem subtly undermines this assertion, suggesting that the roads were equally worn, and that the difference lies more in the speaker's narrative than in reality. Ultimately, the poem is about the human tendency to create meaning from our decisions, even when those decisions are based on chance or circumstance. It's a poignant reminder that life is shaped not just by the choices we make, but by how we interpret and retell them. The voice of the poem is deeply reflective and introspective, capturing the speaker's internal struggle as he stands at a crossroads. The tone is tinged with a sense of regret and irony. While the speaker appears confident in his choice, there's an underlying uncertainty that permeates the poem. The sigh in the final stanza, "I shall be telling this with a sigh," suggests a bittersweet acknowledgement of life's complexities. It's not a sigh of contentment, but rather one of resignation or wistfulness. The irony lies in the speaker's claim that taking the less traveled road made all the difference, when the poem itself suggests that both roads were equally traveled. This tension between appearance and reality gives the poem its depth and makes it resonate with readers on a universal level. The tone is neither wholly optimistic nor pessimistic. It's a nuanced reflection on the human condition. Frost masterfully employs figurative language and literary devices to enhance the poem's meaning and emotional impact. The two roads serve as a powerful symbol for life's choices, with the fork in the road representing a moment of decision that every individual faces. The imagery of the yellow wood evokes a sense of autumn, a season often associated with change and reflection, while the undergrowth suggests the unknown and the obscured future. Frost's use of irony is particularly striking. The speaker's claim to have taken the less traveled road is undercut by the poem's earlier admission that the roads were really about the same. This irony highlights the human tendency to construct narratives that give our lives meaning, even if those narratives aren't entirely truthful. The poem is also rich in metaphor, with the entire journey serving as an extended metaphor for life's decisions and their consequences. Repetition, such as the emphasis on "I" in the final stanza, underscores the speaker's focus on his own story and individuality. These devices work together to create a poem that is both accessible and deeply layered, inviting readers to reflect on their own choices and the stories they tell themselves. The Road Not Taken is a profound and multi-layered exploration of choice, regret, and the stories we construct to make sense of our lives. While it's often misinterpreted as a celebration of individualism and nonconformity, the poem is more about the human tendency to create meaning from our decisions, even when those decisions are based on incomplete information or chance. Frost's use of simple yet evocative language, rich symbolism, and subtle irony makes the poem both accessible and deeply thought-provoking. It reminds us that life is full of choices, and while we may never know what lies on the other path, we shape our identities through the narratives we create about the roads we've taken. Ultimately, the poem is a timeless meditation on the human condition, inviting readers to reflect on their own journeys and the stories they tell themselves along the way.